All right, so just looking at Lord have mercy. Just looking at everything on the month. We have been watching the VIX, and as we said, it did kind of TTL these folks here. So it didn't really make like a new low because, it's lower than higher than these, but it did bounce off of that support and now it came back in. So what we're looking at now is that the VIX could possibly outside month. It does have this resistance right here, but I don't suspect it would be hard. And it could finish this month and come up to 27. Now, I do want to start by saying that we have a couple of economic events this week that's going to make the week kind of probably volatile. So it could be a good idea to possibly sit it out if you're not experienced enough to trade it. But the decisions that are made on Tuesday we have CPI, and then Wednesday we have FOMC. So those could push us in either direction, and we'll see in a little bit about kind of how the market has been basing, kind of waiting for this. But yeah, so VIX could possibly outside month. If it does, that everything else is going to fall. So you kind of see that with everything else. While the VIX is rising, you got the NASDAQ here that's doing a possible outside month to the downside. So, again, if that event pushes us red, we already do have time frame continuity that's to the downside. This could continue, and NASDAQ could come on down to like this 10629. Woof. And then, the Dow, you have not quite triggered. These haven't quite triggered, but just noticing that they are close to triggering. So if the VIX does go, then we can expect the rest of these to fall. And you'll see kind of similar on SPY and Microsoft and the Qs. They all have taken out last month's high and then immediately came back in. And so they all have not touched those highs again, as we see. But once we go down to smaller time frames, we'll see the kind of how it's been basing. Apple is still inside, so right now it's not giving anything, but we're more to the downside. So should we break this, the last month's low, which is actually also the previous month's low, then we can keep going down to 129. Apple has bounced around under this outside year trigger, which is at 149, and it's been kind of like a somewhat of a resistance for a while. So we know that the year is almost over, so it's not going to hit that 116 target, but it definitely could come on down to about 130. So Microsoft, if it does the outside month, that would be 2 back-to-back outside months, but the trigger is 234. And then the target would be here around 214. And then SPY trigger is at 389. We know that this is a solid support here, this 390, 389 area. And then we can look to hit that 368, 369 area. And then the Qs, 277 trigger. And then around 260 would be the target for that. So update on how it looks on the 2 week. So far, Apple has sort of taken out that previous low, but this isn't really a strat signal, so nothing to give here. But Microsoft could possibly rev strat. Of course, a lot would depend on this week. But if this week decides to be red, you could look for Microsoft to rev strat. Because this is a 2 week and there's only 1 week left in it, I don't think that it would take all that out unless we had a hard sell-off, which could possibly happen. And then the Qs are close to triggering this on the downside for the 2 weeks. So If we look at that on the weekly, Microsoft is giving us a nice inside week. So that would trigger the 2 week, and then could possibly trigger the month. Signal would be a 3-2 down if the bears keep control here. So 3-2 down on the week, and then our target would be this 134.55, and then there's no strat signal over here for SPY or the Qs. But we got to look at this stuff on the day, so we need to see where it is in relation to the 200, because we have been watching this and it did what we expected. We're always looking for it to hold above these 200 EMAs for us to stay bullish. Right? It's rejected, didn't even really get to it this time. And then Microsoft and the Qs are just well below it. SPY came and was kissing with it, played around with it, got above here, and we said, oh, are we going to hold? No. And so, this has been a strong resistance. Again, I was saying before, in fact, let's go to the big chart. There we go. I'll open that back up in a minute. I was saying before, it's on the 4 hour, that way back here, can zoom out, we only kissed it. So we had a little more strength here to break above it. But the bears stepped back in, and I mean, they came in hard. They was like, hold my bear, hello. But so last week, what I pointed out to you guys was a couple of things. So on a shorter term time frame, right, we have this shoulder and then the head and then what could be a shoulder. So last week we were here. I pointed out that this was possibly a shoulder and that could be a head, and we could see if it would earn out a shoulder area. So this shoulder could still continue for a few more days up until we get to that decision, and then if it plays out, we can look for it to come down and then come to fill this gap. Okay, so keeping in mind that on a shorter term time frame, it looks like we have topped out here at this 410. And we've started making a head and shoulders. Okay, so, but I want to zoom out, because we always got to zoom out. You always need to look to the left, right? And I want you to see on a bigger time frame the inverse head and shoulders that I've been talking about for a while. So we first talked about it down here. It made this inverse head and shoulders, and then as it continued up, it made a bigger shoulder, head, shoulder. We're still in this shoulder area over here. So we've really kind of been basing around, waiting for, I believe, this CPI and FOMC decision. So keeping that in mind, he hinted to 50, I think, at the last meeting. So depending on what he says, it could send us either way, because on a bigger time frame, we do have a big old bullish sign, and it's supported by 390. And if y'all remember that on the monthly time frame, 390 is the 50% level. So that is a very, 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 very strong support that we have. But currently, time frame continuity is all red. So if y'all watched my other video on time frame continuity and knew how to draw it, especially this week, then you were ready. So you drew your month open, your week open as soon as we open, and then by Tuesday you had the daily open, and you should have actually been able to play that, because SPY was giving you all of the signs that it was under, well, you had full time frame continuity to the downside. So yeah, that is SPY. Right now, as far as the levels that I'm seeing, we are under all of the EMAs. So, again, that head and shoulders is there. It's waiting on that decision, but this 390 is the level that still keeps this larger inverse head and shoulders active. So as long as the bulls hold this level, then I can expect that we're going to probably continue to chop through here. So basically, this between 390 and 400-ish, even up to here, is basically noise. If it does break to the upside and does break about 403, that would still actually, yeah, that's about the top of this shoulder. So if you're doing the shoulder, the head and shoulders that I'm talking about on the shorter time frame, to the top of that shoulder is 403. That would negate the inverse head, the head and shoulders, and we can see it move to the upside. Otherwise, if it breaks below 390, that head and shoulders is going to play out. But as you can see, this is noise. It's just been chopping through here. So I would advise waiting until it decides what it wants to do here and breaks out in either direction. So far, we're, completely looking like we're going to be red, but things could change and the market decides to shoot up. We do have a gap to target to the upside at it is at 422. Yeah, 421.33. So if we break back to the upside, we do have a gap there to target, and then of course we have this gap to the downside at 381 would be our next target if we move down. And then if we do continue and we hit, go to that gap fill, of course we will have triggered the 50% on the month. So we can look for, where is that? I think I have too many drawings on here, y'all. Hold on. There it is. 368.93. So about 369 would be the monthly target if it continues to the downside. So those are the regulars. And then I wanted to point out, oh wait, before I go to the 50%, let's look at IWM really quickly. We basically see it's also in a chop area, but it's rejected this resistance here. So and it's starting to come back down. So if we would look for it to trigger the 2 up, 2 down at 173 if it does, and then it can go back down. So this has been a pretty strong support for the month, but EMAs are kind of tight here. There's no strat signal on the weekly, and it's triggered on the 2 week, so it could definitely still continue to this 174.60. A lot of this is going to really depend on the decision, but as you can see on the daily, it's also rejected the 200 and came back in. It's filled this gap though, so kind of remains to be seen what it will do, but this is all noise here. It's just been kind of bouncing around in this area. And so of course we've been watching energy, and it's triggered on the month. We've been looking for it to finally reverse, and it was giving us head and shoulders on the day. Y'all talk junk to me about these patterns, but y'all see they be playing out. There's the shoulder, a little bit of head, there's the shoulder, and boom. It was also just giving topping out exhaustion risk here, and so once it finally broke this support, it just came down. So time frame continuity is fully red here. I'm thinking that it's kind of sitting on a little bit of a support, and we do have a little exhaustion risk to the downside, but we do have gaps to fill as well if it decides to come down. On the month, we do know it's triggered, so our target for XLE would be 74.55. Look at that on the week. Yeah, we were looking at it. That was just beautiful 212 down. So there's no strat signal now on the weekly. It's but yeah. Looking at, I think ZOM and Oxy all triggered. Yep. So pick your favorite energy play. Oxy actually hit its target already. But yeah, your favorite energy play may be still moving down. So snow, not doing anything on the month. On the week, the same thing, but we have a inside week, which we like because You know, that means it digested some of its move. Now it's been kind of stuck in this area here, so kind of looking to see if it'll break out and move whichever way. We do have a hammer, but it's a red hammer, so looking to see if it breaks either direction. Snow could be a play for the week. And then XOXL, because we are still watching chips, not doing anything on the month. On the 2 week, we did kind of trigger but came back in. So again, it's just like kind of spy. You'll find on a lot of charts look like this. They're kind of giving this little tight area. If you look, this is a cup and handle, so you know, but it could also be a bear flag depending on which way it breaks out. So looking to see if this breaks in either direction. On the week, you do have a 3-2 rev strat possible here though. So check it on the day. We got a shooter on the day though. So, and then this area is just ugly. So really, you just kind of want to see it either break to the downside to come fill this gap here that it has 985, or break to the upside and, you know, make a higher high. It's made higher lows though, so just kind of have to see what it's going to do. This is just kind of an ugly area, but once it breaks, it should be a decent play, and y'all know this is cheap. So McDonald's is another one we've been watching, and we've just been watching it. So here's the thing, y'all. BA used to do the same thing with me. I would watch it for a while where it's just like doing this, a whole lot of nothing, and then I'd stop watching it, and then I'd look back at it, and boom, it's gone. So looking for McDonald's to finally make the move. It's not yet, as you can see, so we will keep watch. Right now it's still in this tight area. It's got an inside wick though, so we're just keeping watch with McDonald's, because you know it made a big power move up, but then it consolidated for a while. We like that type of move because it could either do that, consolidate for a while for the next leg up, or for another leg down, or a leg down. So kind of watching that to see what it does. And then I had some 50% rule on the month to just kind of show you guys. Marvel has triggered, so that's when I can post this list in the study time chat as well. So you have Marvel, it's actually already triggered, so your target is 3671. UPS has not triggered yet, but I just wanted to put y'all on a radar on it. Put it on y'all's radar just in case it does. The trigger is right around 175, so it has had this rejection here. If it moves to the downside, it could go ahead and trigger. Got an inside day here, so if it moves to the downside, it can go ahead and trigger that outside month. So keep UPS on watch. AMD also is sitting at this trigger. So this, honestly, y'all know the AMD has been, this area right here has been a little and so has been this area. But if it does continue to the downside, then you know, actually don't have a strike signal on any of these. You do have a shooter here, but it's not a combo. So probably would have to wait and see what AMD did. Probably give some type of correction on the day and strat signal to finish this out. But the target for that would be 58. And then Shell, SHEL, this came up on the scanner. Doesn't move a whole lot, but it has triggered already. AA is about to trigger. It did an outside week last week, so if it does a 3-2, because it's sitting at a strong support right now, but you know, y'all know this 3 means that Bears really stepped in and took control. So if they keep controlling 3-2 down, then that could go ahead and trigger the month here, and we can keep going to this 3683 is the target for that. Another one, UAL, which hasn't triggered yet but is close to it. so it's like 30 cents away. Also, the same thing, Bears stepped in with this 3. It's in this range though, so you want to see a break out, and if they continue control in 3-2 down, then it could go ahead and trigger that monthly. And then JP Morgan is also about to trigger. It did not do a 3 on the week, so you don't really have a weekly strat target there, but you do have a rev strat here on the day. So if we 1, 2 up, I mean, this is a really beautiful tight shooter right here. You know, open and close is like a line here. But if they can keep that control, it's nice rejection, and it goes down, then it can trigger the monthly. And your target is 126.10. And the same thing with J&J. It's about $3 off of that month, but the 3-2 up, 2 down rev strat, or even the outside 2 week could trigger that 172.53. So, well, that's a solid support that you have to see, but keeping that on your radar.